like to call the meeting to order and thank everyone for attending this evening. Let the record reflect that we are missing Ed Husman. I got a text earlier and he wouldn't be able to attend this evening's meeting. Hope Ed as well. And we don't have a student rep currently, so everyone that's supposed to be here is here other than that. Review of the... I skipped the flag salute, so let's do the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Review of the agenda. Are there any changes?
No, just executive session for real estate.
Okay.
Cost.
Everybody get that? A brief executive session discussion of real estate costs. Public input. Richard, looks like you're up first.
Brought my laptop. It's easier to read from. I'm trying to stare at my phone. Thank you, all board members, for allowing me to speak here tonight. Before we get started on the time, I just had a quick question. Is there any agreed upon predetermined time limit for public input?
I put it at 2 minutes, and at times I've let it run longer than that. But do you think you can get it done in 2 minutes?
I don't.
Okay.
I asked because I was reading the 1430 where it states that each subject, as briefly as the subject permits.
Yeah.
So depending on the subject, the time may vary for what you need to cover. And given the number of items we have in the agenda today, there may be certain things where I need to cover on there, and I can't just throw it all out there instantaneously.
Well, if you don't get everything to us, please get it to us in the form of a written, so if you don't have time. I'll give you an extra minute tonight. Hopefully that'll help you.
Also, yes. All right, and I'm going to try to get through all this, like I said, quick as possible. As I was telling DG, I got a dog getting ready to go into surgery, so I got to be ready to go whenever they call.
Your dog?
My dog, yeah, is going into hopefully life-saving surgery, so I'm going to try to get this done.
Perfect.
Regarding the 1430, as we had the issue on the 12th, 1430 policy, grounds for interruption by the board president or members of the board is only justified if it's too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. And I would appreciate that being adhered to today, unlike it was on the 12th. Even though I didn't violate any of those policies on the 12th, I was still interrupted and talked over during that meeting. I'd like to start with a correction of the minutes from the 12th. Seems to be that there's certain things, comments, conversation points that get removed from the minutes. Others are accounted for, others are taken off. Specifically, Section B, Step 4 of the minutes from the 6/12 meeting that you all are voting to finalize today is the one I'm referring to regarding my comments and the interruption I was just talking about. It did not annotate the fact that I was interrupted while I was speaking, despite not having violated any part of the 1430 policy for Sultan School District. As they were all well aware, prior to me, I wasn't directing anything at any one person. I addressed the board completely, and they knew about the conversation regarding school safety on May 26th, well before the June 12th meeting. It did not get answered until after the first, when I reached back out to restart that conversation. There was the interaction started 11 minutes and 12 seconds into that video. When we were referring to that, the comments made by Russ about documenting or reporting it, and the community member in the back who made the comment, "You guys won't do anything anyway," that part was taken out. And I would like for that to be corrected prior to the minutes being finalized here tonight, because if we're not covering everything and reporting everybody's comments, then it doesn't seem factually accurate when you're providing the minutes. So if need be, I'd be willing to sit down and go over the audio with whoever is adjusting the minutes to make sure that we get those done properly. My question for the board, I guess you would say, is when that interruption happened and was reinforced by our chair, why was that allowed if I didn't violate any policies for public speaking?
You want that answer?
I mean, if you want to reach back out to me, that's
reach
fine.
back
I just
out.
was wanting to know why that was allowed if I didn't violate any policies.
Okay.
That's all. Again, last week's meeting, you all heard me speak on the Zoom meeting regarding 1400p and the procedures for public notice. I was at the district office. I verified there wasn't anything on the door. I walked inside, spoke to the secretary. Wasn't anything posted inside, so there's no public notice as dictated by the 1400 series. The Facebook post on the
That's 3 minutes. Richard.
school
I'll give you
district
another
website?
one. I'll give you
Okay.
another 1 minute to finish your
All right.
thoughts.
The post was 23 hours old. We have videos and pictures, recordings of that for proof if anybody needs it. So everything that was covered in the last meeting shouldn't really necessarily have happened because you were in violation of your own policies and procedures. And we as the public would like you to follow those policies and procedures, seeing as we will be held to those policies and procedures if we were to violate them ourselves. Items of business, cell phone boxes, I don't think that's a great idea because any kid can come in there, throw a spare cell phone in there, and he's still going to be able to walk in there with his real one. It's a pacification. I don't think it's necessarily going to solve the problem. Again, I think we need RSOs. You have the policies built into the district. They have the RCWs 28 Alpha 320-124 and 28 Alpha 320-241 that guide that, and your own 4311 school resource officer policy. I think we need to get into that, talk to the LEOs, all these conversations that should have happened now. We should have been a little further along on there, I feel. And I look forward to getting those results from Kayla regarding the Healthy Youth Survey
That's it.
as well.
Please, if you didn't get anything spoken, please get it to us, and we'll get answers for you.
The last possible 30 seconds, if I can.
Please.
The only other thing I had was to let everybody know I have started a petition, circulating it through the school district as well as Gold Bar and Sultan in regards to our superintendent and a lack of action over the course of his time in this position to either A, have him resign or to have the school board come forward with a vote after reviewing his performance over the last 16 years, seeing as I feel as well as a lot of the community felt that something should have been done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jeff Estes.
I have my own timer up here. I use it at the city council meetings. Hi, I'm Jeff Estes, and I reside in Startup, Washington. I'm actually here to talk about the proposal of the pot shop that the gentleman is going to talk about. I'm expressing opposition to that, and there's a lot of reasons. I think in certain areas they work well, but in certain other areas they're not very well supervised, and we have a lack of LEO in East County as it is, and so I don't think it's a good idea to have one in Startup. But the reason it affects the school board here is the school district, of course, has property and facilities at this location that are actively used. It's always included in the school district real estate inventory, and the school district, as far as I'm aware, still pays the water, electricity for the buildings on this site. The facilities have been used. Actually, they were used for the most recent school district levy. I think they had a meeting site up there, and they distributed, pro-levy signs up there. So to me, that constitutes a school district use. Because the startup facilities are actively used for both community and school district activities, I request the board to notify the county that if it is within 1,000 feet restriction, that they don't grant permission for this marijuana shop to establish itself. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Seeing no other people signed up for this evening's meeting, we'll proceed with the consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments about our consent agenda as included in our packet?
So moved.
I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. We'll move on to financial report. Mr. Butler.
Evening, directors. We have a lengthy agenda, so I'll keep my comments brief. But this is for the enrollment for, first of all, enrollment for June, last count month of the year. We can see that we finished the year as far as our traditional students at a plus 42.5. Our ALE at a plus 5.54 for a total of 48.08. So definitely that was, the entire year was very strong as far as enrollment growth versus estimate. So again, just some of the standard graphs that I provide to you. The one that is the enrollment, traditional budget estimate versus traditional enrollment. Okay, the next one, Kayla. Keep going. And keep going. And that one there, yeah. So you can see that for all months, we were above our estimate. There you go. Yeah, for all months, we were above our estimate. Started out, grew through November, dropped a little bit in December, January, and then we see that second quarter, or second semester kind of drop a little bit, but all months were above. When we look at ALE tracked very, very closely. At the beginning of the year, we had a huge spike between January and February, March. Again, the second semester kind of jump that we tend to see. Then things subsided a little bit, but all months were essentially equal to or greater than, with the exception of maybe September was slightly below. Taxes outstanding, again, the spring collection is done. We'll be moving towards the fall collection here soon, so you can see the amount outstanding, just under $2 million that's outstanding in general fund and then the other funds. As far as our budget status reports, Fund 10, General Fund, $1,748,000. Fund 20, Capital Projects Fund, $862,815. Fund 30, Debt Service Fund, $244,118. Fund 40, ASB, all areas, $157,359. And Fund 90, Transportation Vehicle Fund, $198,419. And then the exceptions reports, not really a lot has changed here. Some of my comments have kind of just repeated month after month. It's because really not a lot has changed. We talked early on is that expenditures really were not the issue. We were really keeping expenditures actually below proportionate share. But I made a comment about 3 months ago that I was starting to see things ramping up, and they definitely have ramped up, especially with our material supplies and operating costs. Inflationary pressures and just general increased activity has caused those to rise pretty significantly. On the agenda page that I had for this, I said as anticipated, district expenditures on MSOC have increased up 11.2% over the past 4 months. So they have gone up quite a bit. But you can see salaries and benefits. This is the first one, still very close within our projection there, actually below. Material supplies and operating costs were 5.2% above proportionate share. And then when you look at all, we are 0.3% above. So, and MSOCs, like I said, inflationary pressures and just general level of activity are contributing to the growth in our material supplies and operating costs. The fund balance history, again, the May number is reported previously, the 1.748 million. June is your low month, okay? So June, keep in mind, you have 2 successive months of low apportionment. You have low apportionment in May and in June. So June is your lowest cash point of the year. Now you will get a significant jump in July and August. May is what we call a 5% month. You get 5% of your allocation in the month of May. You get 6% in the month of June, but you get 12.5% in the month of July. So you get over twice as much in July, and you get 10% in August. So June is definitely your low one. You're coming out 2 successive months of low apportionment, and your cash balance is typically at its lowest point of the year at the end of June. I'm working on the June posting right now, but the number represented there, the 586,000, is what I'm saying. Ending at this point at about just a little north of 1.3 million. And then just some graphic representations of that. And if the 1.306 were to come to fruition, that would be 3.9%. So very, very close to that 4% minimum fund balance that we talk about. And then obviously we're putting together the budget for next year and being very mindful of the fact that we'll bring forth to you a budget that meets or exceeds that 4% requirement.
Questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, directors.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have any association reports this evening. There's no one to report. So we'll move on to business, and our first item, I guess, Dan, you're gonna handle this for you and Serena.
Yeah, so Charlie's going to kind of take team. So there's a committee that plans and executes the whole graduation situation. So I'm going to let Charlie kind of run a recap from the committee standpoint, and then want to mention some possibilities coming up, because we do have some bigger classes coming up. And we also want to talk about, if it is a Saturday, can we move it earlier in the day, or consider doing a midweek? And the challenge that we have on only having Saturdays, if graduation occurs on a Saturday and kids go until the next Thursday or Friday, and we lose a couple of days of school, it moves that into the next week, and getting seniors back to school is a problem. We ran into this a few years ago. We ran school, and nobody showed up. That's basically what happened. And so those are just some things to think about. We don't have to, finalize anything tonight, but go ahead, Charlie, and talk from the committee's perspective on what they said.
So, as the committee as a whole, we got together after the graduation, discussed if there was any, the goods and bads, basically. And overall, it ran well. The weather broke in time for the
Barely.
ceremony. But there was, we're ever looking to improve. Like Dan suggested, we talked about different things to help cost-wise, help families. It's difficult, there's a lot of, graduation parties that night too, and so maybe the earlier in the day would be a better thing. We threw a bunch of ideas out there. We do have some larger classes coming, a different venue, but as a whole, the biggest topic of discussion was the ornaments on the hat, on the square part of the hat, and we had a concerned parent and wanted, I guess, better guidelines or different guidelines, and so we discussed that, and we went with nothing higher than the button on the top. So they can have some 3D-ish stuff on there, and then everything has to be approved by the office.
Questions? I thought it went well. I think we lucked out with the weather. And I don't know what the community's thoughts are now, but I know we surveyed the community several years ago as class sizes were starting to climb then, and it was an adamant community. They wanted to keep it at home. I don't know if that's still the case.
I would guess that is still the case. I know it's convenient not to have to drive to Everett, to Angel of Winds, or whatever the name of the place is now. We would want to potentially increase our seating, and there are temporary mobile bleachers that, for purchase or rent, that we could increase our seating for families. Of course, they would be uncovered, but we could increase those seatings. Changing the time might make it easier. It would also cut down some of the labor costs, because we have staff covering it. If we moved it to a weeknight, that would surely help in the cost, because we work during the evening, during the weekdays. And moving it to a date potentially after school's out, so that if we do have snow days and the last day date gets pushed out, that the graduating seniors don't miss out on the 5 or 7 days of education.
I think we need to be thinking about that when we're designing the schedule. Always, we've thought about snow days, but we have flood days and we have smoke days. The more that we have, the easier that problem becomes to address. And I would say, before we would make a decision, I think we should sample the community and see what they think about where and whether midweek. Tradition's hard to change.
It is. It is a lot of prep work for my crew, but
everybody knows kind of what to do, so because we've done it over and over and over, and even the new guys figure it out because they're just following along with us old guys, and it's pretty smooth. It is more work with owning our own tents, but it's also cheaper, so.
I think it'd be good to know the date as soon as possible to get it decided, so
Correct.
people can plan and get it on our calendar.
Well, challenge for that, I think, is the calendar seems to be a negotiated.
Parts of it are.
Yeah.
Parts of it are good, but we could easily do a survey, get some data back within the next couple of weeks, have it finalized by the end of the summer, which should give people plenty of planning time. The challenge always comes up when you get into January, February, March, and people are saying, you got weather problems, you're gonna change it, and we've never changed it, not once.
Right.
And that's because somebody coming from Missouri or Texas or California, they may already have their tickets.
Right.
But we are really up against a final planning line where if we lost, if you go back to, I don't know, it's been quite a few years where we had, 3 feet of snow and we're out of school for quite a while, it really makes a mess out of things because you can't just change graduation at will. So if you left a smaller amount of time between when the last day of school was for the seniors and when graduation was, that would give us more breathing room.
Well, and I was talking to some people at our graduation, and I know we need to move on, but a lot of schools have graduation the night school is out or that weekend after school is out, not before. And I don't know if it's a state or Washington always does that, but in the Midwest, you graduate usually the weekend after school is out, or on that same night, like school gets out Thursday and graduation is Friday or Thursday night.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to.
Yeah, you're from Kansas and
Yeah.
you're from
Wenatchee's out.
Wenatchee and you're from back south, aren't you?
North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, we all did it right after school went out,
Yeah.
just to avoid those.
Ours is
Makes
very
sense.
unusual, and I'm not sure it's the best, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Well, hopefully everybody can have an open mind, but I think the first step would be to sample the community and see, we want to represent their wishes as best we can. Anything else on that?
Anything, Charlie, anything more?
Can we volunteer to help set up and tear down, give Charlie a hand, or is that just strictly?
I think that's a union issue.
Oh, okay.
But I appreciate the offer, but we always need volunteers for in the stands for like ushers or whatever, or
Some years,
Keeping
keeping people
parents-
from slapping each other.
Gotcha, okay,
Pulling business cards off seats.
Yeah,
gotcha.
okay. Next up on the agenda is discussion of cell phone, social media in schools. Dave?
This is an ed
Yeah,
topic, so, but it's an all of us topic at the same time, so.
it's a Russ topic too, I think.
Yeah, we've approached this several times, but Ed and I had a recent conversation probably a month ago about it. And I attached the policies just so you could see what is currently there.
Yeah.
They are being, well, I think if you go back prior to the pandemic, we were ready to put it in place, from my recollection of it.
We were close.
We were close, and then that kind of changed the whole landscape. And what we have now is pretty uneven upholding of it. But I think everybody's on board that we want to not do it. The challenge, I will tell you, is that we have, there's a number of situations that I have been involved in where, we've tried to remove a phone, or, not me personally, but somebody in the school has, and the parents defend whatever the student's doing with the phone. Makes it really difficult. But at the same time, we're also in a different era where there's a certain amount of security with kids having phones. We just need to keep them out of place in the classrooms.
The problem is not the phone, it's the action of the student with the phone.
Yeah, there's been
A
some.
phone in your backpack or in your pocket that you text your parents on hall pass or at lunch isn't the problem. It's when there's direction from the teachers and the kids aren't paying attention. And when the teachers pull the phone away, it's more than, oh, take my phone. There's almost, I don't want to use the word addiction, but there's a definite
There's a
tie to the
definitely,
phone
just
where
use the
they're.
word, it's addiction.
And you can go on YouTube and look at videos of where teachers have been assaulted when they took digital devices from kids. So I'm with Ed that I would like to see them lessened to the point where they're never seen other than in hall passes and things. I don't know about all of these. I haven't studied the success rates of the lockers and things. And
So I think that, I don't know that that's even really a big part of this. Dave just threw it out there.
Right.
Because what ends up happening is there are teachers right now where, when I say it's unevenly done. Some kids turn them in their classrooms when they go in, and they're in some kind of a wall thing that they hang in. That's not really the big part of this. The big part of this is, when I go visit a classroom, again, let's, be honest about this, isn't an elementary problem.
Right.
It's not necessarily as much of a middle school problem, this is a high school problem. And so if I'm in the back of the classroom and I'm wandering around, I can see kids that are fiddling around with their phones that the
Right.
teacher can't see.
Down here.
Yeah. And it's a disruption, and I just read something, and I think I mentioned it in my weekend update to you, that there was a country in Europe that just banned them in classrooms because of the massive disruption. I don't know where I read that, but it was. So this is an all of us issue to get on deck. It isn't just, we all have to do it, and we've got to get parents to help us support it. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I researched a little bit, and from what I saw, don't jump straight to like a total ban, like you can't have phones in the school, start
Yeah.
smaller. I think one of the biggest issues is the staff and the teachers enforcing whatever
Yes.
rules that we have.
Yeah.
If we have the rule that the kids can't have the phone in class, and then the teacher lets them, that's not gonna work.
But in their defense, they also have to know that we're in this together. We're not gonna leave them hanging if they go and try to, we're working, I'll share just a generic example. Middle school. Kid was listening to music in class, refused to quit. Teacher went about it appropriately a few times to do it, didn't work. Assistant principal came, escorted the kid to the office, got the parent on the phone. The parent said, the kid wasn't doing anything wrong. They can listen to music if they want. That doesn't really do much for creating an environment of learning, but that's more prevalent out there than you even know.
And then that's when we say, well, this is our rule, and they have to follow it when they're with us.
I think it would be very difficult to say on Monday, there's no more cell
Yeah, I
phones.
think
But I
that's
think
a
we can do this as a lever that could happen if we don't see a marked reduction in that the student's not paying attention in class. Listening to music on your phone while you're in a class, it's inappropriate. And I guess a teacher can send someone, we used to be able to get sent to the study hall of the library if we were done with our work. If a kid's in the library with earbuds in, that's less bothersome to me than if they're in a class where they're supposed to be learning. I think this needs to be more than just a quick item on the agenda. I think this needs to be a study session, and I know summer's tough for that because we have.
I would say, with this being July, with business being on the 24th, is that we schedule a meeting. First couple weeks of August, we do a study session in August, even though we don't have one scheduled, it's on this issue, so we're all on the same page. Thoughts on that?
Yep. Anybody have an objection to that?
No, because I think we need to come up with what we're gonna do, and then we pass it on.
So
and
the
this is what we're
policy
doing.
lays out
You're
kind of
gonna-
what our plan was.
Yeah, and we just need to follow through too and make sure that it's being
And it's
done.
two sides. We need to make certain that the teachers are enforcing the policy, but we also need to support the teachers when they do enforce the policy. And there's the the things that happen when a teacher enforces it and takes the phone away because they were using it inappropriately. Both sides of that are problems. If they're not enforcing it, that's a problem. If they enforce it and then the principal sends them back with their phone because parents said it's okay, that's not okay. That parent, if I'm not God, I'm just a guy, but that parent should be informed that, well, you can come pick up your student if you believe they can listen to music in the classroom or something to that effect, because that's disrupting those around them, and it's not what their kids are coming to school for. Music classes for listening to music and performing it.
Well, and the first breakdown is in the math class where they're given permission to use them as calculators. We need to provide calculators to get the phones out of the
And that, in the real world, that's what we do. Anybody that has a job that you need to do some quick math, either you have an adding machine on your desk or you grab your calculator.
So Dave, from a software standpoint, or you're not allowed to scramble stuff, is that correct?
Correct, absolutely not. It's prohibited, period.
Can we build a giant Faraday cage?
There's nothing against that, yeah.
That's expensive
Yeah.
and ugly.
Okay.
So we'll have a study session,
Is that, that's me bringing that up.
second Monday in August. Is everybody free for that?
I think so. Do we have any, Any feedback from teachers one way or the other on
They're for
exactly?
it, but I can't say they know 100%. I mean, I've had frequent conversations with the principal about, I go in some places and it's no phones, they're put away, and I go in other places and they're not, and, my conversations, we've got to get on the same page on that right away.
I mean, I could imagine that they're all gonna say they want the phones not in class because they want their students paying attention to them, but are they on board with the avenue that we're looking at taking, or, or do they feel that this is a little extreme? Do
Yeah.
they want to be able to just say, put it away? What are they thinking about what we're doing?
I think you have both. You have the people the teachers that are fine with the kids having the cell phones, because my son has teachers that are fine with it. And then you have others that want them put away. It just needs to be consistent. You
Sure,
can't,
it
there needs
absolutely
to be the
does.
policy, and you can't deviate from that. And then I think if we have a study session, we can come up with those rules. And
It may take more than one study
Yeah.
session.
So that's August 14th. So I'm open that day.
I have bargaining, but I think it's done 9 to 4, so.
Good for that. All right, so throw that out, make sure we get something out to Ed. I don't know if he's ill or what's going on. All right, next up, Sky Valley Youth Coalition update. Dan.
Yes, I'm going to have Kayla pull up a couple documents. This relates to youth violence, youth fighting, youth bullying, some of the things that we've heard about in the community, in school, happen in a lot of different ways. And so what happened is things are being seen in a lot of different places. And so this is kind of the main, sort of the overarching deal. It's a multi-agency kind of an approach to it, where you've got the mayor, some representatives, you've got fire chief, police chief. All of those are coming together because they're running into issues that are, like at the park, they're seeing things they've never seen before. Kids are taking the stands apart and just walking off with the wood that, when I was a kid, wouldn't even consider doing something like that, ever. And so, but the bigger problem is since we've come back from the pandemic, we're seeing behaviors that are tough, really, really difficult. And so this just gives you a summary of what that is. If you can scroll up one, you can see there's another piece to this.
Oh, the other document?
That, no, there's another.
Another page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this kind of talks about all of the different parts, and so what we're going to do is some information gathering with kids, with families, and try to understand what the experience is. There are some very challenging situations.
Is this the group we discussed, starting with the actions that occurred getting off of the bus stop, and they were here at a board meeting? There were some parents.
Yeah, this
All
is
right.
really, I think Richard was touching on that.
Okay.
This is, there was a community transit bus that went from Sultan to Gold Bar. There was a fight by the post office, kid got his arm broke.
Right.
And then you heard all the aftermath.
Okay. And this is nothing to vote on, this is making us aware this is.
We're just giving you an update, that this is going on, and there will be some listening sessions that are gonna take place, and there's a lot of folks, and almost the day that this came out, I think I sent you the article from the Everett Herald that had to do with the Everett School District and some of the challenges they were having that they hadn't seen. I can tell you for sure, the numbers that they showed in that newspaper article, ours are not even close to that. Not even close to it, because that was concerning, seeing
Yeah.
that.
Well, getting all of the players, because it's a school issue, it's a community issue, it's a transit issue, it's a parenting issue.
I mean, I think at the very least, we have 6 hours, 7 hours a day with kids. We don't raise them, we're not home at night with them, we don't feed them dinner, we don't, talk through personal problems that are family things that at home, but we do have a big influence, and it's a big responsibility that we need to make sure that, while they're in our care, that things are working well. I mean, they're not, we've got to make adjustments.
Okay. Questions?
I got one real quick. Did the lady that was sitting back here that was commenting about talking with you all and working on getting the committee, did she ever reach out and get that started? Or no?
That's what I was asking, that's what this.
Melody Daisy,
Yeah, I never heard back from her.
Melody is
so
part of that committee.
Okay.
She is, I don't know what her exact title is, but she works with Deb Koppel at the Information Center. So
She's down at
she-
the chamber if you want to get with her.
that is this, I believe.
And one comment, if I may, just because I've had some involvement in the past, that currently organizations, a lot of these programs are grant-based, and they're, essentially it's a lot easier to run a program with fewer participants than it is for a larger crowd. And I think that's one of the current challenges. 20 years ago, Boys and Girls Club would have 75 kids there on their team nights, and Safe Stop would have upwards of 150 kids from middle and high school. But now the current programs seem to be almost non-inclusive, and to me, a program isn't very successful if there's only 6 or 12 or so participants, especially when you consider the number of youth in the valley.
Well, and this will be a work in process, trying to get the people involved and engaged. And, I think a healthy community, it's my perception, a healthy community is involved and knows if there's trouble in front of the post office that some adults in the area would step in. It's the parents' job in the first place. If I didn't make that clear earlier, school, if they're here at school, the rest of the time, we're all part of it. And I don't know if anybody else has, but I've jumped out of my truck before when I see two kids just pounding the crap out of a kid. It's just, a civil society doesn't allow that if we can help. Next is the Transportation Letter of Achievement.
So I just wanted to, this is the State Patrol does yearly inspections of our buses, and I wanted to just make sure that in all of the challenges we face daily, weekly, monthly, that we give time to, recognize the good work of Charlie's crew and the entire staff of, there's a lot of folks that have a hand in making this work. And so, for the past 2 years, the results have been outstanding.
Way to go, Charlie.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I'm not surprised you got the letter. I've worked with you for a long time. But I am proud.
We actually got a certificate for 5 years in a row.
That's something that would be nice to share
Yeah.
on our social media and Facebook.
Kayla does a wonderful
She
job of
does.
putting out these great things. If you can frame it and share it, it'll look great.
With Charlie's picture.
Yeah.
I'd rather have my crew, they're the ones who do all the work, not just the conductor.
Fair enough. Well, congratulations. Approval of mental health contract, Dr. Paul Douglas. Is this for board members or?
It goes right along with the theme that's been going on, doesn't it? So this is, we talked about this, I think, a couple months ago, around the ESD having a grant that we could pay $50,000. They would pay the additional so that we could have a mental health counselor in our school district. We wanted
Didn't we
to-
go, I thought we did this already.
We brought it in
Okay.
terms of informational.
Yep.
And
So
so
it's
now
the
this
same
this is,
one?
yeah,
Okay.
this is the actual contract that says, yes, we're ready to move forward. The counselor will be focused at the elementaries, so we go to both elementary schools.
And that's the hard part, is where do you put the person?
Yeah.
And
In a small vehicle back and forth between schools.
A van.
Yeah. Okay, questions? Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the mental health contract.
So moved.
Contract number 2324-2050-08.
this is a 5-year deal, Paul?
I believe so, yeah.
So one other little piece to this I'll add to it is, we've tried to piece together a program with, getting various agencies. This person will be available 196 days or 198 or something, so that they can attend all the different meetings that these students do and can really try to provide some help rather than doing it all on the fly, because that's our biggest challenge, is there's just not enough dedicated resources in the right way, mental health, to be able to see this through. Or, hopefully, catch them when they're young and get going. So that's really the benefit of this. The cost is 200,000, we're getting it for 50.
That's a good
Yeah.
deal. So I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of Sultan High School water heater,
Heater.
not heater.
Can we tell them? Sorry.
Spell check won't catch that one necessarily.
Curious what a water header was.
Oh, that's, me too.
Well, I read that.
Get a 200 or 300 pound water header.
So a couple of quotes,
Oh, yeah, I didn't catch it either.
for it's the school, the main body of the school's water heater. It does all the showers downstairs, it does the kitchen sinks, the sinks in the commons bathrooms, the stage bathroom, so the bulk of the school. The rest of the school has little tiny ones here and there.
How many gallons is the one we are replacing?
450. And it has to be cut into 3 pieces to get it out the door. They must have poured the concrete around it, I don't know.
Okay.
And so looking at our current usage of hot water, I mean, kids don't typically shower after PE any longer. They do after some sports, not all. But I figured that the 200 gallon would suffice. But if we wanted to lean towards side of caution, to have a 300 gallon. This particular system, it has a circulation pump, so all the water is being circulated through the whole system all the time, and it's hot. So as soon as you turn the
Instant.
faucet on, you have hot water. So the chances of running out of water is less.
Oh, because the pipes are full of hot water as well as the 200 or 300 gallon tank.
Correct.
Okay. And budget-wise, do we have capacity in our
So
budget?
this isn't to go buy now, this is to approve, correct?
This is, we need this to be able to pass this, health department. They tagged us on it because the water was not hot enough.
Yeah, I
Right
think
now,
this is-
the system's jerry-rigged. There's 2 quotes, one's for the 200, one's for the 300, and they're not much different in price.
No, $3,000.
Dan?
So when is there, do we know probably the timeframe?
It's a 15-week.
No, that's right, 15. So
Yeah.
it would have to be built into our budget for next year, so.
Okay.
I was aware of this, but I need to now go, if the board approves, go and formally add it into the budget.
Okay. Questions from the board?
I'm in the wrong business, that's, it's like a lot of effort.
Yeah, no
Do
kidding.
they know how long it's supposed to last?
The one that's coming out is installed in '86.
I mean, like these new ones, I mean, obviously older is always gonna last longer, what's the
Um,
life expectancy?
The metals are supposed to degrade less fast than the ones before, but, I mean, I'm not gonna be here in 30 years to confirm.
So we assume that it would last 20 or 30 years, is that the assumption?
So if you have to cut the other one out, how are you gonna get this one in?
The 200 and 300 gallon ones are small, they fit through the door, so they'll be able to be laid down, well, they'll take the bottom underneath it to get it in.
Well, if we're gonna approve one, it seems to me getting another 100 gallons for $3,000 is a no-brainer. That's what I would do if I were buying it for myself, not that I'd buy a $55,000 hot water heater.
I have one question, did we get quotes from any other company, or?
No, this is a company that we use for other things too, and I don't know if they're still on the KCDA list, but they were in the past. They have competitive pricing. I've checked against other companies on other things, and they're the ones that suggested to me to look at how much we use in the hot water to go with the smaller one. So I feel like they are looking for our best interest.
And is this is it $70,000 now?
This is under the bid, I still personally believe we should get 3. But
It's also, you know, they are on our small works roster as well.
On what?
On the small works roster?
Okay.
And I mean, I can't imagine that there's gonna be a huge sway, but
Well, why don't we do it this way then? Why don't we approve the dollar amount for the larger one? Do some checking so that you make certain that there isn't one out there that's $47,000, that's the same boiler, and that way we don't have to hold up the approval process. Does anybody have an objection to that?
That makes sense.
And we'll be doing our due diligence with taxpayer dollars that way. That being said, I'll ask for a motion to approve the 300-gallon price tag of $55,386, in which Charlie will make certain that there isn't a better cost available on that type of hot water heater.
So moved.
Have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And next up is Sultan High School track clean and restripe.
So if you were at graduation, you'll notice that the track has a film, we get it on our driveways and whatever, but the cleaning of it is not as easy as just pressure washing. There is a process that we could do ourselves, but it's very labor intense, and the track also needs to, it's due to be restriped anyway, and they do it as part of that. They have to clean it to put the new striping on.
Questions? Budget-wise, is this also something that won't be until next year's budget?
This will fit within my budget for next year.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this would be a general fund expenditure, this would be.
the costs of things are just
This is
astounding.
repairs and maintenance.
Everything's expensive, go to the grocery store.
So since it's coming from your budget, you just need our approval because of the dollar amount?
Correct.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't spend over 15 without board approval.
Yep.
Maybe that's a conversation we need to
Yeah,
have too.
just
because,
clarifying.
you know,
Yeah, pretty soon
different
that's gonna
deal.
seem like
Yeah.
25 cents when things are going up in price. Any other questions?
I think the bigger picture is, you know what we're doing.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if we don't maintain what we have, it falls apart.
Right.
Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the Sultan High School track clean and restripe.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of surplus sale, probably something we should have got in our short meeting last week, is that?
Yeah.
Yes, it was supposed to be there.
It
Because
is.
I was in Winthrop, you're in Nebraska, everybody's
Yeah.
all over the place,
Yeah.
it was a fiasco. But
You did it right, you went out of country.
It's supposed to hit the paper tonight. For the timeline for us to have the sale on the date that we discussed, it had to be in the paper, it has to be in the paper for 2 weeks before.
So we'll be in policy, we're okay if we approve it tonight, all right.
Yeah.
Questions?
the original board meeting had us all covered on all this stuff.
Okay. Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the surplus sale as presented in our packet.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of Sultan Elementary preschool wall. This one caught me. It's like a little thing.
So, adding preschool to this
You have a
campus.
picture?
Yes.
The principal's best place for that program is in the classroom that is on the other side of that wall. And there's a staff bathroom that is next to that. And so we're making a 4-foot tall wall to block off the access from that room into that bathroom, like right there, to
So that's a classic.
keep the
door,
kids
and
from
then
running around.
The door on the right, and this is rough, it's not done.
Yeah.
Right. But the door in the back is the bathroom wall, so the kids.
From that classroom to, what number that is?
Yeah.
And it's not too late to say no. This is just-
It didn't seem like a thing.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I see that is like, we don't have an exit problem with this there, right?
No, this was up when the fire marshal came through last week. so,
Okay.
And it's a half wall. So, and it's built, it's being built so for temporary, so it's not being lagged into the floor. It's just lagged into both walls
Again, it's a half wall.
Right.
So there's still supervisory and you can still see there.
No, yours is my only question, as long as we have safe passage and everything. Any other questions?
I mean, they're kids, they can climb it if they
Right,
want to.
well, and they probably will.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the bigger issue. All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve the Sultan Elementary School preschool wall.
So moved.
That was about a tie. We'll give this one to Gigi. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Discussion for plans for Sultan Middle School and Sultan Elementary School to replace removed trees.
All right, so Charlie, you want to kind
Yeah,
of start
so
talking
during-
about this, but let's show
During
some
the
pictures.
winter, we had the issue with the willow tree breaking and for fear of a student being in and around that area when those aged trees, we had them removed. We also removed the, what's that?
At the school district, is that what you're talking about?
At the Sultan Elementary, and then the cherry trees that were along the side of the middle school where the roots were damaging the floor in the girls' locker room. And so we've removed those. We have some ideas on putting things back. On this campus, this is the middle school. In the front, it has a little bit of a wall or a border that comes out from the building about 5 feet, and then the bark and the shrubbery would be inside that. I would like to do that on this side just so it looks the same as the front. It doesn't have to be. See how it's curved out? It's got the little border. It's like,
So if you look at the trees there, you'll see that there's some hedge kind of stuff, and so putting some of those hedges in front. It's hard to make old facilities look good, but we've got to do better.
so I want to put some low-lying shrubs here, keep them low, keep them below the window, so that it's not a hiding spot for kids. But I'd like to pour a edge like this along the side,
Like a curve.
so that there's still a grass piece, but there would be a specific flowery area or whatever, bushes. And so this would take about 30 plants to start this.
It needs that.
And I want to do the front first, even though that's not where we pulled the trees from, but that's our first.
That's the facade, everybody sees it first.
And this will all happen this summer.
We would like to get it done this summer. And at the elementary school here, we took those 3 big willows out, and there's, where they ground the stumps, there's these mounds of
Yep.
dirt and debris, and we'd like to flatten those out. Maybe dig down a little bit. We have some good soil that we're pulling out of the playground area, put it there, plant 3 trees in place of each of those spaces, and then reseed grass as well.
I was talking to the other day, is there a way we can maybe, like at the elementary school, get a class, like maybe the outgoing 5th graders dedicate 1 tree, 4th graders, 3rd graders, so it's their tree they know of in the future? Just
Sure.
kid-friendly it up a little bit, get the kids
Sure,
involved.
so then they pick the tree that I buy, or do they buy
Yeah, I
the
don't
tree?
know. It's just my
Well, I
wife
think you
came
can
up with
have, I
this
think you
idea.
can do both. You know, it's.
We want
Which would-
consistency,
which would
kind
mean
of
that
a
we
palm
would-
tree and an oak tree and a,
Then we would have to wait for school to be back in.
yeah, that's a problem probably.
I would like to have those mounds gone before school starts.
It would be nice.
It'd be great if they're
I
gone
would
by the end of the
also-
week.
Yeah, if they were gone tomorrow, I don't think anybody'd complain.
Right. I would also like to put a border around those spaces, and bark the area, because when the trees are growing in the grassy areas and our grounds guys are out there mowing, as the roots
Yeah, it's on the-
surface, then they're beating up on the roofs, beating up the mowers. I would like to try to keep them within a space.
yeah.
Is this spot though gonna be possibly used
In the
for-
future for
Yeah,
affordable,
so
or
I mean,
parking
how much
lot.
money do we wanna put
So
into
the
it?
bigger part is that CFAC has really identified Sultan Elementary School as a school that just, we gotta deal with. And you're seeing decades of not dealing with it. And So that's a fair question, but, you know, I kind of keep directing Charlie to say, we gotta put something back out. We can't just cut trees down and leave mounds in the lawn. Not that they're saying, we gotta do something.
What I could do is relieve the mounds, dig down, put some soil, reseed, water, let grass grow until we find out which direction we're going with this campus.
Is there any roots under those or any of them?
There's going to be roots under there for, it's willow.
Yeah.
It doesn't rot very fast.
Do you think that they took everything down subground slightly? Or they piled
We
dirt
will
on top
find
of
out.
roots, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they used a stump grinder.
Okay.
But how far down, I mean, some of the roots were this big around, 8-inch center, so,
Willows go where the water's at.
What about something like where, like, we still want something to be there,
Yeah.
but could we, like you were saying, have the kids do something, can we put like maybe some shrubs or something and like a little, like a garden bed, so when
Right.
school starts up again, the
Maybe
kids
just
maybe
do-
could plant some flowers
Maybe just
or
get the
something.
mounds gone and get it green, and then we can do, when school starts, the kids can be involved in something. At least the mounds,
yeah.
at least they have grass kind of on them now.
If we're going to rebuild this school and the front of the building might be in a different spot.
Right.
That's why so I don't want to throw a bunch of money away
No,
at it.
I
So,
think that's what we're all on the same page.
So really, get rid of the mounds, soil, grass, and then we'll
Give it the
Let-
principal, and, see what he can
principal
develop with
and
the kids and the staff.
PTO.
Yeah,
And
that'd be great.
the community has actually expressed
They have.
interest
Yeah.
in something, so.
All right. Good. And then at the middle school, I get the front, and eventually, do you think we'll leave the tree free along Fourth there? Because of the getting under the building and,
So, yeah, I don't wanna go with trees, I would like to go with shrubs. And, it would be nice once, at some point, to create a bus lane in that, for that campus. Cause it's very dangerous at times with the buses and parents picking up and
and
dropping
people in
off
all
at the same
directions
time.
at that.
And so if we were able to, Fourth Street's long enough to have the bus lane there, and, then we could maybe, that space might want to have some more concrete.
Right.
For the kids to wait for the bus. But, there's, who knows how long that takes.
Might also be nice if there was at least a small amount of covered space over there, because that is the exit from the locker rooms, and the kids are oftentimes waiting to be picked up by their parents at night in the dark when it's raining.
Yeah. We also would like to, we're replacing the CFLs and the metal halides and all the, and the fluorescents with LEDs.
Right.
And so with the LEDs, we're able to, I could expand the fixtures that are on that side, because it's dark.
More
over
light
there.
and.
It is really dark.
Same or even less energy and have more light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything, other questions about that? Thank you for the update, and the mounds getting removed, and I think that grassing up and making the front of the middle school look nicer.
What kind of timeline are we looking at?
I can have the mounds gone, hopefully the roots aren't sticking up, but, the idea would be have it ready to go by the school starts. It'll be dirt still, but it'll be reseeded and we'll have to quit.
Well, then, maybe we need to do a
Sprinklers.
little more as far as, just a little bit of a survey or whatnot, just so that it's more active that we're doing something. Because I think the perception is we don't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Get it
not-
out there that we're going to do that, and we're going to get the community involved, the PTO and community, to make it attractive in a way that the majority of people approve of. Some people may like dirt mounds.
And even if we put the trees in, we're not building a new school next year.
Right.
Right.
It'd be cool to put something in
We're
that
not
could be
$9
moved
million
easily.
trees here.
No, but I
We
think.
could put
Yeah,
some
you're
nice,
right.
fairly
Shrubs or
inexpensive trees or shrubs in
I
there.
bet we
that
could
is
get a
gonna
nursery
totally
to help
change
us
the
with
way,
that.
the way that
Well,
section
and,
looks, and
like at the high school, we put those concrete planters in the parking lot, and maybe something like that would be a good idea to start, because it can be moved to another location should we need that space for something. And because then it could still live in a parking lot, it could live in.
If they were
front
not
of the school.
concrete and they were cedar or wood or something that's more appealing, I would be a bigger proponent.
Okay.
I
The,
think
the high school works.
the goal here is to give some curb appeal,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if that was gonna continue to be the face of the school, I'd like to put a big planter area raised with some trees and shrubs and stuff to, so when you're looking at the sign, it's.
You see that?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Charlie. Next up is approval of ASB 22-23 expenditure authority. Dan and Dan. I'm wondering, Dan, if because of recent legislative movements, this isn't going to be a regular part of every year's meetings.
No, this is, well, let me clarify a little bit. In my tenure, which is now going on almost 12 years, we've had one other instance where we had an issue where we had to do a budget extension for ASB. So it has happened one other time. Excuse me, in that situation, we were able to bring the kids in during summer and we're able to kind of get something through and the board approved it and we filed it with OSPI and away we went. It's not saying that we couldn't do that again, okay? What has happened is that we got through June, and as at the end of June, which again, I know you have just the May reports, based on the 195 that was filed and approved for ASB this year, the ASB only has remaining just under $8,100 of budget capacity left. They are almost out of expenditure authority. At this point, we have just some straggler invoices that are still coming in. The bulk of everything that they have for this year is paid, but we may still have a few invoices that will need to be paid, and it's very probable that it would be in excess of the $8,100 that they have remaining of capacity. So we've identified it before they went over their capacity as threshold, so now we're basically kind of at a decision point. Do we go through the process of bringing the kids in, going through a formal budget revision, bringing it to the board, having you approve it, send it to OSPI as we had done previously, or the other option is general fund does have the ability to pay any invoices that they choose, which means the general fund could pay on ASB's behalf any remaining invoices in excess of the $8,100 of remaining authority.
So, I understand the budget authority. How much capacity could they approve up to if they were to reconvene?
They can approve as much as they need to. They would have to
How
either.
much capital do they have? I mean, or
They have plenty of resources, they just don't have expenditure authority.
Right.
Yeah, so they have the resources where they could add another $20,000, let's say, onto theirs, which would be more than enough, approve it and go through. However, with the way it is right now, we've got noticing requirements of 2 weeks. You have to notice for 2 successive weeks before the budget hearing. So we would have to have it approved before the end of July, which means that we would have to have a special board meeting either on the 27th or the 28th of July to get it approved, to continue on.
would authority for the board's general fund to pay anything over the $8,100? We could do it that way, couldn't we?
Yes,
That
that's what
might
I'm
only
saying. And there was one other thing that has come up too, that was kind of an 11th hour thing. The ASB gets on an annual basis, they get an allotment of there's a grant of $10,000 that is basically to help mitigate the impacts of House Bill 1660, which was the one which provided free things. We claim that once a year, due only to a fact that OSPI cannot deliver money to any fund other than general fund. So hang with me here. The money is owed to ASB. OSPI's mechanism can only give it to general, then general in turn has to pay it to ASB. So you have to go through this roundabout manner.
Okay.
What we could do is, instead of forwarding those $10,000 in proceeds to ASB, use those $10,000 of proceeds to pay the invoices on ASB's behalf. So the impact to general fund actually would be little to nothing. Everybody follow me on that?
I said do that.
We claim the grant. Typically, we've done this about 3 years in a row. You claim the grant, and then what we have to do is general fund writes a check to ASB to move that $10,000 over, because OSPI cannot deliver it directly to ASB. If we made the decision that no, general fund, because they're running out of expenditure authority, general fund will cover that, but we will retain that $10,000. If we don't expend all of that on their behalf, I would give them the difference. Let's say we did
That was gonna be
8,000 of
my
the
caveat.
10,000, I would remit 2,000 then in September to them. I'd remit the difference. And that way they would not have to do a budget extension that way.
I like that option
Yeah, me
better than
too.
trying to get them all.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably be the unpopular one here, cause everybody's like, just throw them some money, and I'm like, what do you mean we don't know how much money is gonna be coming in on, that they're still spending? There's invoices coming in, we don't know how much that is?
There's just some straggler invoices, Cindy. I know that the last one, an example would be the final straggler payment for the middle school for annuals. That was still one that has not yet been paid, about $600, I believe. So there's just these little stragglers that are kind of coming in that missed our last cutoff. And unfortunately, I don't have a firm number for you. We have our next round of payables is next Friday. Janie is working, Janie Miller was off last week, but she's working to get those totals, and then I would have those totals to get an idea. But I anticipate
Them to be
less
more
than $10,000 in total remaining.
So they really have a $2,000-ish shortage, maybe.
Yeah,
but-
we may not have any. This is really, I'm trying to just anticipate, because if we didn't do anything, and then all of a sudden we get these bills and we're over, then we're really scrambling to try to figure out, what we want to do next.
As a little bit of adjustment to what you recommended, and let me see if I can get this out there right. Why wouldn't we let them expend all of their 81, and then whatever is over that is what the $10,000 we would use, and then give them the rest of the money over? So then we're not out anything as a general fund.
Right.
And we're not giving them any money, but we're not taking any money away from them.
Right, that
Just
was
helping them manage the timeline more than anything.
correct. That would be my intent, is that, like I said, they have $8,100 of capacity. We would use up to as close to that as we can, fit the invoices in to get
Right.
as close to that number as possible. Claim the grant, retain the $10,000, and use those proceeds to cover any invoices over the $8,100 that may still be in the pipeline, and then remit to them the difference in September between what we use of that $10,000 and what is remaining.
I think it's the best fix, and
I-
trying to get kids
yeah,
back
it's-
in the summer to do this may be a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may not even be
Right,
here,
right.
or could be gone on vacation.
Yeah, well, I've reached out to Katie Power, who's the high school ASB advisor, and she seems to think that she has, they're having a summer volleyball camp, that we could get the kids together. We could do it if we had to, but it's just the timing is, I need to notice in the paper and, for 2 weeks, and there's just, hoops that you have to jump through procedurally.
Okay, I'm gonna try to word this so it makes sense.
Okay.
The board, allow a motion for the board to approve utilization of the general funds dollars that we will get from the OSPI $10,000 grant to cover anything over their budget capacity. And at the end of all of the math, we will make certain that the remaining dollars of that $10,000 grant go back to ASB, and they'll have that utilized for next year's budget.
Correct.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Director.
Hopefully that made sense. Approval of fines and fees for 23-24 school year. I only had one question, and that was, are we not going to have any fee for sports medicine, health science, advanced human body services?
Did they,
Both things are lined out.
that's a good question. I guess there is not, and so I would recommend as it stands that,
We may have another revision in the future.
I don't go line item by line item with people. I more or less present the list that the schools present, and then as questions come up, we address them.
My guess is it's supposed to be 65 and
That
it
was
just
my
got
guess
crossed
too,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, by mistake.
Well, let's,
Yeah, that might just be a typo.
Because all the ones above it are
They
just,
have one marked out.
yeah.
I'll ask for a motion to approve it, leaving health, science, sports medicine, advanced human body systems at the $65, the higher of the two numbers. Obviously, if that is not correct, we'll see a new item to approve at the next board meeting. Questions?
No.
Then I'll
Just
ask
to
for-
clarify, sorry, a motion to approve the clean copy, right?
Okay.
In essence, okay.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion to approve the fines and fees for 23-24. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And it is $65 in the clean copy. You are correct. So we approved it correctly. Approval of classified certificated administrators contracts. This is a yearly thing.
yeah, recommend that you approve these. They're in the middle of the contract, and so that's.
Let them
why
know
we
they have a
just
job, and these are the
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Questions?
No.
I'll ask for a motion to approve the classified certificated administrators contracts.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next up, approval of non-represented administrator contracts, kind of the same thing.
I think I explained in my Friday update or Saturday update where some of the differentiation exists and the reasons why. Otherwise, it's, IPD, and there was some slight changes in some of the contracts, but I recommend that you approve these.
Questions?
No.
And I'll ask for a motion to approve the non-represented administrator contracts.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of ASB representative guidelines, and Gigi, you've been working on this.
Basically, it's the same thing I presented probably like 3 times now. I did meet with ASB and they voted that they approve of my proposal. We discussed actually having them help come up with the questions that we ask of people. And I did tell them that if the ASB president really is interested in it, that person would kind of be at the top of the list,
Yeah.
since that's the way it's always been.
Sometimes it isn't, they aren't, but it
Yeah.
seems like a duty they have to take on.
Right, and that's kind of, how I presented it. If they, if somebody is the ASB president and they don't want to do this, then it needs to be somebody that does want to do it.
Right.
So I just would like to actually vote on this and,
So we're doing it in the right order now. They've
Yes.
approved the change.
Yes.
All right. Questions? Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the ASB representatives guidelines as submitted in our packet.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we're cooking with gas now. Startup lease discussion, Dan.
So Charlie's gonna be involved in this as well. I'm gonna actually defer to Charlie. Go ahead.
So, the facility that the startup water uses is, for all intents and purposes, a lean-to that's on the startup property.
It's a very nice
flooring
building.
in there it's well overdue to be replaced. They're willing to replace it at their cost. No cost to the district. They did ask, but it's not something that we have to entertain, but they would like to do an extension of their lease. I talked to Kate tonight before I came, and she said that if we were to just approve the flooring, just so that they can have some new flooring in there, they would be happy. And I think that there's still 5 years left on the lease?
Goes through 27, I think it's 4.
4 years, okay.
So they didn't ask for any kind of extension.
Okay.
This came up, it's somebody that's seen in our accounts payable that we were still paying something for startup, and so we had to separate out. We're not paying for the gym, that's by the Art Council. We are still paying for the electricity, water usage, whatever a landlord would pay for the other facility.
On the lean-to.
Yeah,
Okay. And
but so the flooring that's in there is some 70s carpet on top of a 2-inch thick pad, and it's just.
you make it sound really nice.
It's really bad, and so.
and they want to do it and pay for it themselves.
They want to tear out the old stuff, put new stuff in it, and they'll pay for all of that. They're just asking for permission to make that improvement.
Questions?
No.
And your recommendation, we allow to do this?
Yeah, it's not like you're renting a house to somebody and they want to do it at your house, and you might get it back in worse shape. I'm not
Right.
sure you could make it in worse shape,
No, right.
I don't think there is a worse shape. Just tearing it out and leaving it bare would be better than.
Dirt or concrete?
Yeah.
All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve the startup lease, really not their lease, the ability to refloor the building.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we're not changing the lease contract, we're just allowing them to do the flooring.
We'll just wait and do the lease on.
And we have, at this point, I don't think there's a board intent to stop having them lease it. We have no use for a very nice lean-to. Next, acknowledgement of
Thanks,
no.
Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. Acknowledgement of no school or student services on startup property.
So I was contacted by Patrick Neal, who was here, via Snohomish County, I guess, sent a letter. And they had looked at our capital facilities plan to see if we were serving students on there. because, as you dug into it deeper, they wanted to put a cannabis shop in one of the buildings in Startup. And I didn't know, but I found out tonight we are gonna be having some kids there, I think.
You want to pull up the email that he sent
Sure.
from the county so we can get the exact word of
Yeah,
what the
exactly
county's
what it
asking
says.
for?
Yeah, because, they're not asking us to decide anything, they're asking us a question about how we serve kids.
Provide the
Is really what it
information.
comes down
Right,
to.
and who are you gonna have address student use of that building?
Well, Dave's the one that shared it with me.
So, the Graduation Alliance meets there one night a month from 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
They were meeting at Mountain View Restaurant.
And I recollect conversation about this in the past because it has been, I do recollect that now, but I know it hasn't happened yet or it will happen.
I think it happens starting in September.
Okay.
Can they not just meet somewhere else?
Well, I think that's what led him to this. It's been hard to do that. But anyway, here's what it says. We need zoning concerns answered regarding a school-owned property 400 feet from the desired property for a cannabis retail business. This is what was said to me. Response from Snohomish County, the school property in question appears to be on the north side of SR2 between 366 Avenue Southeast and 367th Avenue Southeast. The property is owned by the school district, but is not used as a school. So the building now is the Arts Council, that they do that, but it's not used to serve school kids. But Dave is saying that and I do recall this now that we talked about it. So I think in light of this, what we would say to them, Patrick, is we will have kids there one night a month from 4 to 6 p.m.
I don't think that's what he's asking though, because it's an event center and it's under lease. And for
Okay.
25 years to the Sky Valley Arts Council. I think what they're just asking one question there, is there anything in the current 6-year plan that says that a school is gonna be built within that time period? And,
Not
go
there,
ahead.
there isn't.
Currently, there's not, right? Like when
We don't know where we're going to build. Our plan doesn't say exactly where we're building.
It doesn't. It's not in the
Right.
plan, yeah.
But we do have in our 6-year plan that we may build a school, I believe,
Yes.
which is what they're asking.
If we're gonna build a school there,
No,
confirm that the property is not identified in a 6-year capital improvement plan to be used as a school, and that a new school will not be constructed.
right.
So-
But we don't know that we're not gonna use that. And he opens up a pot shop and then we decide that that is going to be a facility for a school. Where do we sit legally then? Do we give up our rights to use that piece of property to educate kids? I'll be open, I'm not a pot shop fan. I think you have a right to have a business, we voted on it, but I don't think it needs to be in the main corridor of any community where kids are even seeing it.
And I totally respect your opinion, and I know when it comes to kids and cannabis, it creates a lot of opinions passionately on both sides. I think the question here, being that it's leased out to, I think you have a 25-year lease with the Arts Council, and I think you're on year 8 right now. I believe in that lease, there is a clause where you can cancel the lease if you do want to do a school. But as of the time that I submitted our request from them, and they sent me a link to your published plan online. It says, we've reviewed the online plan the county did because it's in unincorporated Snohomish County. They have the ultimate approval, but they have to do their diligence. So they picked through the plan, said it didn't find anything there, but I need to get from you guys to acknowledge that there's no current in the budget plan to build a school there within 6 years. It's just a one question, yes or no?
I think we need to have Lance look at this, because what I don't want to lose is our ability to put students in that facility. That's a piece of
If
land,
we
and
need
it
to.
would be tainted by the location of your business, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's really open to your opinion, but I think because the county has to be the one, since it's an unincorporated, and I know Sultan has a moratorium on retail, it has for a long time. And I'm not actually the person owning it, I'm just in the business, and it's one of my customers that would be opening.
Who's Michael Dobish?
He's the head of the planning department for the county.
Okay, I will call him tomorrow. I will call Lance.
Okay.
And we'll talk about this because Mike, I mentioned it to you too, is I'd be concerned about losing our rights to, because you don't know what it means. I mean, simply they're asking a question, do you have a plan to do this? And it's not, we've talked about having a transportation center, that's taken care of.
Preschool.
Talk about preschool.
We have a real preschool issue in this community.
There's been
we're trying to
talks about
resolve.
different things, but nothing more than that.
But you're currently under a lease with another
Correct.
company, a nonprofit that runs the company, you're their landlord.
And that-
They have rights to the
that
property.
building was actually
And
taken
they
out
can
of
give
the-
you, they can say, yeah, come bring the kids, do whatever, because it's an event, it's a space, and we don't want to interrupt any of that anyway.
Are there the same kind of rules and stuff for liquor stores? Or is it just?
No,
No, it's different.
there's a booze shop right across from the Monroe Elementary, it's like right next to, it's not, I don't wanna get into all that, but no, it's, they're just saying, as of the date that we submitted to you the question, is there anything published as of that date, 6 years from that date, saying you're gonna build a new school there?
And so what I do then, or we do, is we send something to Snohomish County. We don't
Yes.
even send it to you.
Yeah, it has to go to this gentleman here.
So I'll call him tomorrow and I'll call Lance and dig into it a little bit more.
And-
I'm
and-
trying to get a visual in my head of where they're
What was
talking
the
about
name of
putting
the old
this.
place?
Trap,
That's some weird
I'm
name.
sorry, I
the
didn't.
booby trap.
Booby trap?
Those Poncho's
Right
Mexican
next to
restaurant.
Yeah, it's that building that's been open and
Oh,
closed,
the
and
old
open and closed.
Mexican place.
Yeah, it's right across the street
Okay.
and up the highway like.
Gotcha.
been
I'm like
empty for
trying to
a
get a
decade.
visual in my head where this is at.
Yeah, and there's a bar right down the way too, which is within 1,000 feet already. I just, for your minds, just so you know, they're a recreational and a medical shop that has been in business from going way back to medical days, where medical was the main concern and helping people with their pain and all of this, and recreational took over. A lot of that medical stuff has been kind of, can't call it medicine because we don't tax medicine, so we have to call it recreational, which is a made-up word anyway. But just so you know, this person has a good record, they ID everybody, they're my best customer, and I think they really take it really seriously. They already said that they would go along with ideas for the decoration of the building to keep it in line with the other buildings that are along there, try to keep it rustic and, no big giant signs and, be very discreet and secure, so. That's my opinion, and they've shown me that they do that. But yeah, I think it's just everybody has an opinion about this stuff, and it makes a lot of sense. But they're just asking that one question, because they have to say, as of the date we apply for the permits and everything, it hasn't been published. I'm sure lots been talked about, it's an amazing property. I used to live right there behind the church. 2 years I was there from Teresa and John, the old church there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a great place, but that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, have my name and email and all that, so.
I think we just have different interests and we'll get it hashed out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I saw, the city of Sultan allows for processing and production, but no retail. I was just curious how they got to that, and you might not know either, but
I was at the meeting.
the retail is the one that you can make some money off of it. I just was curious why they thought it was okay to grow it and process it and produce it and all that, but not okay to sell it. Just curious.
The community uproar for there to be a retail establishment in our community.
I see.
We're small enough that no matter where you put it, it's too close to kids. And
So
where
where
it's
the Good
growing,
Brewing is, they were gonna put it in there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, right in the middle of
Negative
downtown
attention.
Sultan.
yeah.
I think it.
Uh-huh.
Across the street from the library, kind of.
Yeah, I know where Good Brewing is, yeah. Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for your time, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Have a good day.
thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
And second read, policy 4210, regulation of dangerous weapons. We had no questions in first reading. Was there any additional questions for second reading?
Not a question, I just think that the paragraph that says we're not required to have this paragraph, I think that we should have it in there.
Which one is this?
It's the third paragraph down, it says, note, the board is not required to adopt the next paragraph.
Okay, let me get there.
That was all.
Fine with that.
I have no questions.
Okay. Anything else? Not, I'll ask for a motion to approve second reading, policy 4210.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next It is. What's funny?
I said we should.
We should stop talking and make Byron talk.
Okay, yeah, you have to nominate or do something. Well, just silence when I ask for a motion, no crickets.
I talk too much at work. This is my quiet
Fair enough. Policy 4260, use of school facilities. This is a second read as well. Questions that have popped up in your mind since the first read?
No,
No,
pretty
It's
straightforward.
pretty, yeah.
Good. If that's the case, I'll ask for a motion to approve policy, second reading of policy 4260.
So
I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. First reading policy 4400, elections activities.
So this is not a new policy, would be the first time in our policy manual. So if you wanted to know, what can school personnel do, how does it work with superintendent, board members, all that, you would go to the PDC.
Right.
So this just basically brings their stuff and puts it
Into a policy.
I think, yeah, it's needed.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
needed.
we've
too.
always,
This is a good idea.
maintained following all of the rules. There's no campaigning in this.
Questions come up from time to time because it's a little bit unclear.
And that's why we use the Sultan, that's why we use that facility up there for that
Well,
activity.
It wasn't me, I didn't turn anyone in, but the PDC rules were broken by using the gym for a meeting site for the pro levy and a distribution of.
The one
signs.
in startup?
Yeah, you guys can't, you're not supposed to do that.
Huh. It wasn't with intent. We thought we were okay because of we have a lease to the Sky Valley.
Yeah,
Redskins.
yeah, and it was a group that did it, but it's still using the school facilities in an election.
I think what they did is they had a breakfast or something.
We had a,
That's where we had a.
afterwards, we
there
had
wasn't-
a
I don't
meal.
remember handing out
There
signs.
there
no.
were signs, one of the teachers took photos and put it on Facebook. And unfortunately, on the
PDC didn't
photos, you
reach-
can see the
I
signs.
wonder
I've
why
been turned
PDC
into
didn't reach back
PDC
to us.
for stuff I haven't done. It
No,
gets
no,
turned me in for stuff that I
I
haven't
think
done.
everybody I think met there and then they left to go do, was a meeting
Yeah.
point. I
It
remember
was just where
now.
we handed out supplies.
Yeah, it was a meeting point.
But if there was a finding, I think we would have got a letter or something.
Well, like I said, I didn't.
Right.
turn
I
it-
don't-
I just remember seeing it.
I don't think we broke the PDC guidelines, but I'm certain you're right, somebody reported us because
There's all
We-
kinds of, I mean, they have rules, you
Which-
can't
which-
have
right,
signs, you
right.
can't have signs within. so
we
many
certainly
feet
weren't trying to do
Of
that.
the ballot boxes, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And that was broken, so, I mean, it's kind of a.
Well, how about people removing signs?
That too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
battle of you'll never win, and that's a biggie.
Especially if it's school employees
Well-
doing it, yeah.
What about school employees on their own time on social media, the kids thing, so,
It's an issue, and it's one that we do try to, I can speak only for myself. I make certain that I'm not breaking those rules. And if I did, I didn't know I was doing it. Any questions, first reading of this election activities?
No.
Right, I'll ask for a motion to approve the first read, policy 4400, election activities.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First read policy 5001, hiring of retired school employees.
I didn't have any questions.
Was this, let me get,
This just lets you know how much time people can work if they're retired, because there are certainly teachers that come in and work. If somebody were to retire and then, collect retirement or whatever they're doing, and then decide to apply for a job, this limits that. Or it explains what can be done. You can work 867 hours, I think is what it is.
maybe this is the one I had a question on.
Yeah.
Just-
And how exactly you go about doing it.
I have no questions. You have questions?
No.
It's laid out pretty well.
All right. I'll ask for a motion to approve first reading policy 5001, hiring of retired school employees.
So moved.
I give that to him.
Yeah.
That's two. I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Very good. We have policy 5011, sexual harassment in the district school. District staff is prohibited. It's a shocker that that's a policy. That's for our next board meeting on the 24th. Dan, you have some updates?
I just wanted to give you an update on an automage table has been purchased, and it is, it had to arrive before June 30th. It is at the high school. So it is here, it is on the premises. I think that's a
So cool.
really cool thing, and things we need to do more of.
Does it have a good warranty, or, I just thought, like, that's expensive.
Yeah, but they're expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
it was $85,000.
It
Yeah.
was a 1 year, or we could buy a 3 year. Was that, what is it, as I recall? Do you know which way we went?
Top of my head, I don't know, but I will look into that.
Do you know, Dan?
I don't.
Could you get back to the board, because I think something that expensive, we should step up a couple $1,000s and buy
Have the kids sign a waiver.
Yeah, if it's a
If
few
you break
$1,000 to
it,
give us
you're
triple the
responsible.
warranty coverage on an $85,000 piece of
Yeah.
glass and computer equipment, that'd be a good idea.
Portable purchase, portables here, I think we're well ahead of where we were last year with portables, and I think part of it is there's less competition with other school districts because they've been in a more losing kind of a situation rather than growing. And so I saw the schedule. I think electricity is in. I think, what was it, Dan, we were talking about today with the portable. It's going to be the intercom, the clocks. That's coming this week, I think. And so it's all coming together, and the furniture ended up being a lot less expensive than we thought it would be. So we'll see. Community facility survey, that's out there. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it or filled it out, but if you haven't, we'll make sure you get a copy so you can do that.
Okay.
And then and it's really the first of several surveys that will be part of that, this whole process. We're, when you think of the survey, there was a number of copies that were circulating down at the shindig, and it sounded like a lot of folks filled it out. A lot of the new folks in town are just anxious to see some things different than they've been, and that's refreshing.
It'd be good to see the results of that.
24 trade-up event, it kind of was low profile, but I've been working on this for a long time, trying to get a trade-up event for all of the trades out here in East County. We did it in April, May at the fairgrounds, and I was part of the planning group that just met about 3 weeks ago to plan, and we're looking at next April or May to have, they had, I think pictures circulated, really a cool event. A lot of kids really have, our #1 graduation pathway is the trades.
Right.
Through CTE, and I think it fits our students well.
I think there's probably a common trend in a lot of schools.
Well, and it's even more so
Small.
now, whether you were or you weren't,
Yeah.
I think that there's more of that now, but I wanted to let that go. And then, healthy use survey, I just want to mention that a little bit. That really, we did a report on that as part of that safety stuff. It's unusual to have somebody make a public records request for that, because I'm a little concerned about how that might impact kids' willingness to fill it out and different things. And it's just very unusual. Just want to make sure that the data, that whatever's used from it gets used appropriately. Very concerning.
Fair enough. We have executive session for a discussion of acquisition or purchase of a piece of real estate.
Yep. Jeff has asked me about this piece a lot of times, and it's coming to be.
10 minutes?
Well, there's another part to it, and that's closed session. We're going to need to be in, and you might have to.
Okay, so I need an executive session. How many minutes do you think that's going to take?
10 minutes for executive session, and probably
Come
another
out.
10 for closed session.
Okay, and then we'll come out of closed and come into regular session
Yeah.
and adjourn. It is,
Yeah.
right now I have 8:33. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll make it 7 minutes. We'll start that at 8:40. We'll come out of the executive at 8:50. We'll come out of into closed, and we'll come out of that at 9 o'clock and hopefully adjourn at that point. And that's our calendar. You guys are welcome to hang around if you want outside. I tell you.
So,
I'll ask for a motion to adjourn and we'll reconvene for executive session at 8:40.
So I'm gonna hit the button now, and so the people viewing will see us.
I have a motion, all in favor?
online.
Okay. We are back in regular session. I'd like to call, if there is no further business before the board, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned.